Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Um, I want to mention before I forget it, and I'll try to remember at the end too, but I will be out of town next Monday. So I'll send emails out. We won't be having this group next Monday, but we'll pick up the following. Okay. And just a reminder that there are many of these on YouTube now. I think I started these beginning of April. So there's a lot of them on YouTube if you want to keep up your practice, keep up a routine. Um, so today we'll go through some of the warm-ups, and I was reviewing some of my past teachings and times I learned things, and there's a Qigong series. And most Qigong, if you take a course or class or something, you'll learn a series of movements, and you'll most likely repeat that same series every time you go to class. I teach differently from that, but I think some of those series are useful. And there are 10 movements in this one, and you already know most of them. But I'm going to reassemble them into the order that they were taught to me. It's called Return to Spring. In Qigong, spring is big. Spring is like you're touching into the energy of youthfulness and vigor. So from the point of view of, doing Qigong for wellness, as a healing practice and so on, spring or dew or rainbow light or the light of the stars, things like that are invoked to create kind of a healing sense to it all. So return to spring means no matter where you're at, you can always touch into this energy of the source of the Tao. Okay. So having said all that, and one thing that you can do, that I often do with this Wu Ji at the beginning of the practice, is with the out breath, which is the relaxing breath, just sort of moving down the body and letting the body relax with the out breath. So first you'll relax, head and neck, and then move down, shoulders, and so on. And when you get down to the bottoms of the feet, you just might want to check in that your stance that you're in is correct for you right now. So we kind of have a habitual stance, but it may or may not be right now. And like for me right now, I need to move my feet just a little bit together for some reason. And then you just sort of drop into the alignment. As the body relaxes progressively downward, it'll be easy for it to go into alignment because the muscles won't be resisting. And maybe sometimes you can just kind of sense that things just kind of drop into a vertical alignment. Okay, let's begin by bowing to the directions, starting with the north. To the north. East. South. West. You may want to stay in this position a little bit. If you can sense, if you can feel the bubbling well points in the palms of the hands, and maybe in the bottoms of the feet. And then this, of course, is bringing attention to the abdomen, to the lower dantian and the middle dantian. And then with the alignment, then the Bai Hui, the gate at the top of the head, can be noticed. Okay. So let's start with the neck and shoulders. Okay, and moving down to the chest. I happened upon another name for this movement, which is crane takes flight. So it kind of is like flying crane. Now there's a kind of a folding in, you can bend the knees, bend the waist, and then an opening out. Yeah. Now you can feel this very directly with the lungs, so that this actually moves the lungs. So this is the inhale, and then the collapsing is the out breath. Okay, let's do one more. Okay, and then flexing the hips. So rocking the pelvis and the pelvic girdle, rocking the hips. So between the spine and the tops of the femurs. It's okay if there's a little bit of lower back pain here, but if there's too much, then don't do it. And then circling the hips. Okay, and then my teacher, Tricia Yu, teaches this, the balancing as depending upon who's doing it. It can be just very simple, so just sinking the weight to the left and just picking up the right heel, getting all the weight on one foot, and then putting their heel down without weight, coming back to center, and then shifting to the right. So that's all this really needs to be. And this is part of what she teaches for elderly to reduce falling, or for people recovering from injuries. It's just this, it's very, very powerful. But, you know, we've been doing this a long time. So if you enjoy, you know, adding more to it, you know, that's fine. But the basic balance exercise is just very, very subtle, very simple. And when you get some confidence with this, try standing on one leg and just drop your weight. And then when you're ready, then switch to the other. I think it's a skill. I think it's a rather easy one to just feel when all your weight is on that foot. And it's just super good for preventing falls. Which actually in Wisconsin, I seem to remember reading that we lead the nation in deaths by falls. And I think it's because of two things. One, we have a lot of ice in the winter. And the other, we really drink a lot of alcohol in this state. So it's a major thing. So if you can avoid falling, that's big. Okay, so let's go into tree and spring and the backwashes. So we'll do 3 tree and spring, and then 3 backwashes for each one. Okay, so the 10 movements of Return to Spring Qigong. And the first one we know, boat rowing in the stream of air. Okay, so in case you forget, so it's okay, and the hands go behind, and then bend at the waist, in breath, out breath. Or you can do it at half speed. But it's taught, it was taught to me anyway, as in breath, out breath. So folding up is the out breath, straightening up, in breath. So this is a movement to concentrate the qi in the lower dantian. That's why it's bending at the waist. And I think this just really accentuates the breath. It's like the whole body is breathing. So it's also activating the hands. If you remember from last time, the gates in the hands. So this is why the hands are flexing. So the hands are sort of bent up here, but then they flatten out. So the hand is kind of doing the same thing that the whole body is doing. It kind of, it adds more to it when you focus on the hands. Okay, let's do a couple more. Okay, next one is called Traveling Eastward Across the Sea. And we've done something similar. We've done Turning the Body to Look at the Moon, which is similar to this. So it begins, let's say, with the right side. So we're just going to turn to the right, and we're going to lift the shoulder. We're not moving the arms. We're just going to lift the shoulder and then come back. Lift the left shoulder. And then we're going to make the move bigger each time. And then the hands come into play. And you may want to widen your stance. So turning the body to look at the moon goes up much higher. But this is traveling eastward across the sea. The east is the direction of the rising sun, so it's like It's like spring. It's like the beginning. It's a vitality. This always reminds me of those that science, that little science game that has a bunch of heavy balls hanging in a row, and you pick one up and let it go, and it knocks the other one. It's very much like that. It just kind of goes on its own. And Master Lee describes this as a very joyful, enjoyable, very pleasant kind of movement. And it kind of embodies that vitality of a new day. Okay, let's just let the movement reduce little by little. So these movements have brought a sensation to the hands. And the next movement is actually a posture. I'll show it to you once. We haven't done this, but it's called moving chi to the head. It's very simple. So it starts out, you bend the knees, bring up the hands in the prayer position, touch them to the middle of the forehead, and then arch the back, way back, as much as you can. And then you hold this posture for a little while. And then you come back, and then down. That's the whole thing. So we've activated the hands with the boat rowing and the traveling eastward. And so now we're going to use the hands, and we've also activated the dantian, the lower and middle. Now we're going to use the hands to bring the chi to the head, okay? So ready? So wind up, bend the knees, in breath, palms together, and then touching the middle of the forehead, and then arch the back, and just rest. Just rest in this position. So the forehead is actually pointing kind of upward. And the hands are kind of, in a sense, are kind of pouring this energy into the forehead. They also may be receiving energy from above and focusing it down into the body. And then when you're ready, just go into a regular standing, keep the hands where they are. So this is the upper dantian, the brain. And then when you're ready, you just let the hands come down and back into standing mountain or wuji. Okay, so after moving all of that chi, there may be a sense of a lot of energy in the body, maybe uncomfortable. So the next one is expelling unhealthy chi, or traditionally it's called dragon emerges from the sea. But I'll do it the way he taught me. And so maybe I'll turn sideways. So what we're going to do is we're going to wind up. So we're going to bring the in-breath. We're going to bring the hands up. Take a deep breath. Okay, and that's it. So the idea is you really want to puff out your breath. Don't faint, and only do it once. don't. I'm doing it twice, and so if I disappear, that means I'm on the ground. But so we're just going to try to completely empty our lungs, and then take it back in, and then we're fresh again. Okay, so it kind of starts like boat rowing. So okay, and then take a deep breath. And then in breath. That will really clean out. If you just had a difficult interaction with somebody, or the thoughts about something are bothering you a lot, or you're worried about something, or whatever it is, that really, emptying the breath like that really cleans you out. But we're not going to do it. We're not going to do it again because I don't want anybody to faint. But that's kind of the middle of the practices. Okay. The next one is called gazing at the moon. This is a posture also, but there's kind of a wind up to it. And we've done this before a couple times. But so the wind up is kind of a twist, and this one looks to one side. Remember this? We've done this where you make this V in the hand, and you're looking through that V. This other hand is back here. It's as if it was on your head and you moved it back. And you're imagining the full moon between your index finger and thumb. And you're gazing at the moon. And the light of the moon is coming right through that V into the forehead and filling the body. And this other hand is kind of reinforcing this. It's kind of reflecting it from the other side. So this is a meditative posture. And of course, your shoulders are going to start tensing up. And so you just want to relax. When you breathe in the light of the moon. Breathe out, breathe it down through the body. And the position becomes a little hard to hold, and so then you just breathe and relax the shoulders, and you can hold this for any length of time. Okay, and so let's finish it. So then when you're done, you dip the knees again, and then just open out and come back. Okay, and then you repeat it on the other side. Okay, just for balance. So you wind up this way. Let's take one more breath. And then dip the knees and then circle the hands. Okay, now I think this is maybe one of the most beautiful parts of this is we have all this from the gazing at the moon, moving chi to the head, gazing at the moon. Then we have this something called twirling moonlight above the head, and I know we haven't done this one, but this one's really sweet. So we're just going to start in the Wuji and pick a side, so say left. So we're just going to turn, raise the hands, okay, and then come back to center, sink down, and then lift up to the other side. Come back to center, lift up. And so you twist at the waist. This is very much about shifting the weight, twisting at the waist, and we're keeping the hands up. So we're twirling, we're twirling the moonlight that we've gathered in our hands. We're twirling it, kind of creating this whole energetic sense of the whole body. Twirling moonlight. We're playing with the light. This is an unusual Qigong, but it's part of this. And then if your shoulders start getting tense, it's okay, just relax them. Yeah, let's do a couple more. Okay, and then when you're ready, then just come back down to standing. Okay, the next one was taught to me as old man strokes his beard. This one, it's called stroking the center. And it's just what you imagine. And so I'm an old man, I have a beard. So imagine that this beard is really long. And so you're just gonna stroke the beard. One right hand, left hand. So if you start with the right, you turn to the right and come down. And wind up, turn to the left. You can also just do it straightforward. It's taught that way too. And do it with the breath. So what this really is this is the microcosmic orbit. So it's reversed though. So we're moving the chi down the spine and up the front, which is fine too. So the name of it is a little deceptive. This is really a Qigong. So this is internalizing. The last one we were twirling moonlight above our head, and this one now we're internalizing the energy of spring. Yeah, let's do a couple more. I have taught the next one, you may remember this. So there's kind of two parts to this. It's called overlooking the ocean. And so the first one, we're going to dip the knees. The hands are going to come up like this. And we're going to bend at the waist. And the description of the visualization is if we're standing in a high place and our hands are on a railing or something, and we're overlooking the entire planet. So we just hold that for a little bit and just imagine that. Okay, and then we come back. And so this is like in baseball when the umpire says safe. So you go one way, safe, safe. So whatever hand's on top, you go that way. Let's do one more on each side. The next one is called, this is the second to the last, is called lotus flower going through the mountains. And we're just going to start crossing the hands at the wrist. And we're going to bring them toward the body and then around. So we're just making, yeah, that's right. Just making this circle. Now, Teacher Lee would say, do this at any speed, and he recommends, actually, he really gets going with this. He does it really very fast. This is like stroking the beard, but he does it very vigorously. It's unusual. But you can also do it, slowly. And this is a little mysterious. I don't know what lotus flower going through the mountains. I don't know what that is. Maybe you have a sense of it. I have a sense that this is a Qigong also. This is about moving qi internally. Okay, and then we'll go into the closing movement. So this one, he says, put the hands back to back and put the fingers on the lower dantian, so just below the navel. And we're just going to bend, sort of push the belly in and sort of bend. And this is another posture. This is storing all the qi in the lower dantian. And let's take one more breath. Okay, and then come back. Okay, and then he finishes with the flying cranes. So however you would like to do the flying cranes. Let's wind this down. And then there's a closing meditation. And the teaching is that you're standing on a vast field of snow with a white sky. And that's all there is. Yeah, let's take a couple more breaths. Okay, and let's get our stools. And now the next would be to continue doing any of those movements or postures. Don't worry about doing them in the right order or anything else. Just whatever comes up. To use the breath and the imagination, and repeat any of those movements or postures, and allow them to change as they will. So there are different types and levels of qi according to the teachings, and you can sense the qi, you can feel the qi in the body. It's a sense of touch, sense of feeling. And that usually is described as kind of a tingling, some kind of a tingling feeling. It may manifest as pain or pleasure, but whatever it is, it's a tingling. It presents kind of as an electrical kind of tingling thing. Now, let's drop down below that. And so the qi itself, not filtered through the senses, the universal qi, is like that, the white snow and the whites. It's pure in a sense, not broken up. And the feeling, the sense of feeling in the body is the closest to it. It manifests directly in the body. But it is filtered through the brain. All of our senses are filtered through the brain. And the brain distorts. The brain kind of chops things up because it's bound by time. There's a sense of stillness, a quality of timelessness and spacelessness. Now, this can be accompanied by imagining movements or imagining anything else. It can be accompanied by a wisdom voice, an inner voice. But it's always there, always present, always been present. And it may seem a little harsh, but anything other than this involves suffering. And it's the nature of how life presents on this planet. So the qi that's more easy to access is the result of the movement of yin and yang, creates this energy, coming and going, birth and death, in breath, out breath, motion, stillness, all of that. All manifestations of the first movement, which is from one into two, the two being yin and yang. But the one is always there. That's the Tao. So in the midst of all this sensory information and all this inconstancy and permanence, there's a stillness out of which it is arising moment to moment. And sometimes all we need is just a little suggestion of that, a little memory of that, and then it manifests. Without the sense of that, it'll manifest, but we won't know what it is. Okay, let's take a few more breaths. All right, and let's do the removing glasses. And everybody will clap together. 1, 2, 3. Okay, well, thank you for your practice. Any comments or questions or irrelevant stories or fantasies or anything else? It's all good. No?
Felt I mean, we were doing a lot of activating chi in the hands, and I felt that quite strongly. A lot of these moves, a real tingling in the palms, or this is considered a bubbling well, as well as the one in the foot. So
Yeah.
it was fun.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, and that's why a lot of, hand on the chest, hand on the belly, so that that sense of that energy in the hand, then you bring that in, you know. Uh, like at night when you can't sleep, you can do that. Yeah, and then you can also use it to manifest out. If you get into healing modalities and, I don't know, Tai Chi and martial arts and things like that. So, yeah.
I could really feel the middle, the I love the fast hand thing. That and the one that came before it, I could really feel
The stroking the beard. Yeah.
stroking the beard, right?
Yeah, he teaches some things fast. Actually, there was another teacher I studied with who taught things fast, that you move fast. And, I mean, it is a martial art. I mean, so there is that aspect of it, but most of it's done really slowly. But there's no reason, almost all these things can be done much faster if you want to. It's really not a problem. And you've all done this many, 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 many times. And so if it feels good to speed up, if that's working, then go for it. You don't have to always go slowly. Sometimes we move quickly, you know. Yeah.
So I was working with my 77-year-old brain, and I was curious about, when you said, remember the moves and, imagine into them. I wasn't counting, but I remembered most of them, I think, and that was a surprise to me.
Sure.
And it was, I wasn't trying to do it. It was just, they were just arriving, and flowing one into another, which, as I said, that doesn't always happen.
Yeah, and so when we're meditating with the movements, do you notice they kind of change, or they
Yeah.
And that's good. That's, whatever, because it's flowing through your particular mind and body. And so it's kind of, what should you say, adjusting itself to you. Yeah. And that's great. And that's why there's so many different forms of Qigong, because I think everyone does that, and then they get a little different, well, I need to do it this way. And then, so there's all these different ways.
It was good that you said, no, they'll just come in no particular order, because that's exactly, they just moved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's usually how I teach a few series, like the morning Qigong and the opening the 7 gates. I teach a few series, but generally my experience is people forget them, and they think they're supposed to do it in series, and then they can't remember or whatever. And I just think it's better just do what you do, do whatever feels right to do, and don't be too worried about getting it all in order. I mean, there is maybe an order to what I did, to what he taught. There's 10. There maybe there's a logical order. I'm not positive of that, but yeah, not necessary. Yeah. And I should say some of these teachers didn't even speak English, and they just did the movements, and you just copied the movements, and that's. One of the things that's unique about this little breathing Earth Qigong is that I'm really combining this with the Dharma. This is Dharma teaching through this. And what that is, one thing that is, I wouldn't say what it is, but one thing that is you can do all these Qigongs, and you can get a lot of pleasure. You can feel really good. you know, really uplifted, and it's great, you know, the chi flows, and it's wonderful, but it's not sufficient. You know, in and of itself, it's good, but there's a wisdom component that in my little world needs to come in, and that wisdom component is the Dharma. Is it, well, feeling good is great, but now what do we bring into this? You know, because when you're not doing Qigong and you're not feeling so good, it's all kind of somewhere else, you know. But to really integrate it into moment to moment, into daily life, I think there has to be some sense of a connection to teachings, to wisdom teachings with it. And that's why I talk so much. In the, you know, when I mean, sometimes I'm just coaching, but I think that's an essential part of it, you know, because you may drop into this boundless awareness and not know what the hell's going on, and be really terrified and say, I never want to do that again. But if you kind of have a sense of, well, this is what it is, and this is what's always there, and this is a way to get to it, then it opens up, you know, you don't run away. I think that happens to us a lot. We have these experiences and we can't contextualize them. So they just come and go. Anyway, maybe that's just me. I can't shut up. Maybe that's probably the real answer, is that I just can't keep my mouth shut. So, okay. So just a reminder. So next Monday, I will be up visiting my wife's relatives up in Duluth. So I won't be here. Okay. And I'll send an email out to everybody and mention it, but just so you know.
Enjoy.
What?
Enjoy.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I kind of like it up there. It gives you a little advanced look at fall. You know, it's like 10 degrees colder up there, and it's, you know. So.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for your practice. Thanks for joining. Always
Thank
fun.
you.
And we'll see you in a couple weeks, if not before.
Thank you.